Hello, everybody. Welcome to vlog number 28. I'm super excited. No, it's not number 28, it's number 29. So I only have one more to do. Originally, I wanted to do the vlogs consecutively, but as you know, life happens. I'm not beating myself up. I have my women's circle, part of my Sacred Femme Alchemy membership, coming up in about 30 minutes. And so I figured, okay, just have myself, I have some time for myself to actually talk about what the theme is. And the theme for this month and specific in particular is, and this is something that I do every single month, we have a specific theme, and this is pulled co-creatively, it's pulled from the collective, it's pulled from different themes that I see happening from people sharing inside our Telegram chat. It is pulled from the different things that I see that I am working with individually with different clients, and seeing, are there commonalities, are there universal themes that I see people are working through that I think will benefit the whole group. And so it's interesting because originally I was the type of person that never really worked with cycles. Cycles meaning different seasons, different chapters of my life. And that's like the way I looked at it, maybe like whenever I left something. But I think for me, part of my own spiritual development and the evolution of my development has really come to owning my path as a woman. And the way that I've seen my path is, initially, what is my relationship of who am I in relation to my family? Who am I in relation to men and romantic relationships? Who am I in relation to friendships? Who am I in relation to my work? And who am I in relation to myself? What does it mean for me to be feminine? And so it's like looking at all these different parts of myself where I've had different types of identities in relation and reflection to different people, but now I'm really owning. And that's why I've been on this sacred feminine, divine feminine path, because that is the way I want to describe it. It's more of like coming home to who you are intrinsically. And for me, what I've really started to do is just really keep up with the spiritual practice of reflection. It's obviously very different in different points and times in my life, but I believe for myself, the way that it shows up, especially as I dive more into this spiritual feminine world, is looking at different cycles. And so if you are new to understanding who you are, being on this divine feminine path, and thinking, well, how do I access that more? How do I dive into it more? I want to go beyond the surface of, just how does it look to be feminine, but more of what are those internal qualities. And it's about really going inwards and taking a sacred pause. It's about reflecting on your life. And so think about, maybe it's something you've already been doing, right? So think about your birthday. Is there a special ritual that you like to do? It's like when you blow out the candles, when you make a wish, when you reflect on last year of, what are the challenges I've gone through? What are the things that I'm proud of myself about? What are the things that I had to learn? What are the things that I want to release? How have I grown up? And so that's one way you've probably already practiced this idea of going inwards and working with your cycle and not necessarily known about it. Another opportunity is to think about, working with your actual menstrual cycle, your moon cycle, and all the different phases that you experience in a month when you are menstruating. And thinking, okay, well, as you menstruate, think about all the things that you've experienced during that month that you're trying to release. You are shedding, cells, you're shedding blood. And so what does it look like when you want to cultivate and call in something else? And each time you're on a different phase of your menstrual cycle, you have a different energy that you are emitting, just as how we have the 4 seasons of autumn, winter, spring, and summer. You experience that within the actual month. And so that's another way that you get to work with your cycle. And then another way that you can do is working with the full moon and the new moon. So the new moon's all about thinking, what are the new intentions that you want to cultivate and bring into this cycle? And the full moon is, okay, so now that I already set my intention, what are the things that are blocking me from that intention that I want to release, that have come to like a full maturation that I actually want to release. And then another way of working with it is just thinking about, monthly or quarterly, a quarterly meaning seasonally. So you have the autumn equinox, winter solstice, spring equinox, and then summer solstice. And so when you think about that, essentially what happens is it creates this period of really honing in on that theme of infinity, death, and rebirth, void and rebirth. And that is something that is so common, especially within feminine spirituality. And there are many different myths and goddesses that relate to that. And so as I like to incorporate that into the membership, every single month we do have a theme, right? Initially used to be on the full moon, and now I've actually changed it to be in the beginning of the month so we can really hone on that theme and have that specific for the 4 or 5 weeks of that month. And so this month, what we're doing is really honoring our dreams. We're really honoring the autumn equinox. And the autumn equinox actually gives us an opportunity and a sacred time to look at as we start to descend into the darkness, right? So it's a time when leaves are changing, we're transitioning, we're standing in the threshold between summer and autumn. It's a time for you to really think about, okay, what have I learned? What is that inner medicine? What are the fruits that I want to harvest? Knowing that they've come full circle right now. What do I need to take away in order for my inner self to feel at peace? Because we are in preparation for shorter days, for darker days. And so knowing that, you start to see that cycle of, okay, now that I have reached my peak of summer and I'm getting ready to transition and usher in maybe different changes in my life and really honor those fruits and that season that I've had, what is it that I want to bring and take with me? Right. And so it's really about harvesting that. It's about taking, and it's about knowing what your inner medicine is. And so that's what we're really going to focus is, what are those inner dreams that I have that maybe I'm not fully allowing myself to boldly dream? Maybe there's still some sort of resistance, or maybe there's a self-worth challenge that I'm going through, but I don't necessarily know it yet. And it reminds me where recently I spoke with someone because she wanted to understand, about podcasting and wanting to understand the process. And I find that anytime you start something new, there's always going to be that level of resistance of, can I actually do this? Because you've never done it before. And that's completely normal to have imposter syndrome. That's completely normal to procrastinate a little bit because you're afraid maybe I might fail. Maybe it's going to look stupid. Maybe I don't know how to do it. Maybe people are going to make fun of me. But it's important to really think about, okay, when you have that moment, sometimes what happens is you can self-sabotage and you will end up procrastinating for even longer, or you'll think that you need certain technology. You think that you'll need a perfect mic, a ring light, or a jingle, or all of these different things in order for you to feel like you're ready to do it. And sometimes you might need it, or sometimes you just need that specific push, or you need someone to be that accountability partner for you to tell you hey, actually, what is it that you want to do? Okay, if you want to do it by this date, then I'm here for it. I'm here to support you. Let me know. I'm here going to check in with you and see if you are going to do that thing that you really, really want and truly desire. Because when we let our fear of failure, when we let our perfectionism come in, meaning I want to look perfect before I do something, I don't want people to know that I'm very green in it or that I'm new in it because it might be embarrassing. And maybe that, I know for me, that comes from this, deep-seated belief that I have to have everything figured out, and not have attention drawn to me to look like an amateur. And that comes from, being an immigrant. That's in my DNA, right? I'm first generation, but my parents coming here, it was you got to hide your accent because you don't want to bring any attention to you. You have to act like you know what you're doing in this American corporate system so you won't get fired. It became more of a survival tactic to really just hide anything that made you stand out, right? And when you look like an amateur, when you look like a beginner, you definitely stand out. And so, the whole point of, learning to overcome that and those emotional blocks is really trying to understand, how can I surpass this so that I can create new experiences, so that I can have new references? Because the more references that you have, the more experiences that you have, that starts to become your training ground, and you become better and better and better. And so as I was explaining it to this woman that I was speaking to, it's like the evolution of my own journey of, I remember, like, I actually prefer doing video formats now. Like, sometimes just doing text and copy, it doesn't get me as excited as doing and expressing myself in verbal content. And so I just remember, when my own journey of creating content and having that dream of just wanting to share my work out there and help other people on their spiritual journeys, I remember people saying to me, well, I don't really get your energy from just these photos and copy. Even though I felt like I poured my heart and soul into the copy, it was just 2D, right? 2D meaning it just wasn't three-dimensional. You couldn't get my energy. And then granted, it's like an elevation. If you actually meet me in person, it's completely different as well. But hopefully when you watch these videos, you kind of see and grasp and understand what my energy is. And so I just remember thinking, okay, well, if I want to do videos again, I knew Instagram was pushing reels more because they're trying to compete with TikTok for engagement. And I just remember thinking, okay, let me try a short video. And I remember it was the first video I did. It was actually almost 2 years ago in December. And I remember creating this video. I was wearing a baby blue sweater, and it was about connecting to your inner child, or how to do that with your inner child, and establish a relationship. And I remember doing the video, and I did so many takes. It was way too long, and it was like I felt so amateurish, and I scripted it. I practiced it. It was so funny, and it makes me laugh now because I was so nervous and scared, and I wanted to be taken seriously. I wanted to be an authority figure. I wanted, people to work with me. I wanted people to understand that I had been through things and I could help them, and I am knowledgeable. I can teach you education about all of these things. And it just really came, and I have so much love and compassion for myself at that time, because I really came from a place of genuine desire to want to help people and teach them this tool that changed my life, so maybe it can change their lives. It's like, how can I express it in a way that'll help you believe that this works, and that if you do it, it'll change your life. And I loved just how much passion I had for it. And, I'm really glad that I was able to push myself. And then that's when I started doing more of, like, that's when I really started trying to do more of the podcast that I was doing. And that was just audio at the time. And, at first I would script that. And then eventually what happened was I started to get more comfortable. And then I heard my friend on her podcast, and I thought that she was just so eloquent and natural. And that's the vibe that I wanted. And so I remember asking her, and we did an episode together. I said, like, hey, do you think I can do that too? And she's like, yeah, you're eloquent. You can speak well. You're good at communication, da, 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 da. And so I started to do it more and more, of just getting myself used to being able to talk, being able to improv, being able to have a certain theme and just responding to it. I mean, like, sure, it does help that I am a generator. So it is, part of my energetic blueprint to respond to things. And I get excited, and, I'm known as like a talk show host and all of that stuff. But the thing that I'm trying to have you think about is, what are those dreams that you want to go after that you still feel like you're stuck on? What are those blocks that you have? And so maybe think about it this week of, as we're going in and transitioning into the new season, as we're going into slower months, as we're starting to see the leaves change, what is the dream that I want to have for this cycle? And I love, love, love thinking about it. It's like thinking about it, like, because we don't have winter solstice until December, right? And so really, really thinking about, like, okay, so these 3 months I'm cultivating, I'm thinking, I'm reflecting. Like, think about it when you're at your job and you have your quarterly goals, right? At my old company, we used to have these quarterly plan on a pages, which basically shared with everybody on our team, what is it that we wanted to focus on? What are the goals? How would we know that we were progressing? We would have monthly check-ins of how would we know that we were doing better? And so essentially it's like you have been working with your cycles, you have been in these opportunities of reflections, and so maybe taking it deeper and really thinking about yourself. It's like you don't need to go on a retreat, you don't need to leave your apartment, you don't need to have this big gaudy type of experience in order to really reflect and go inward. You just need to create time and space for yourself to be quiet and reflect and tune into your intuition and tune into your heart. And so that is something to really think about as you start to approach the autumn equinox of what is it that I really, really want to cultivate? What is it that I really want to, honor the fruits that I've had this past summer? And what is this new dream that I'm calling in as I walk into the darker months? And so as you start to think about that, just really, really be gentle with yourself. Sometimes the dreams don't come up till later, or maybe it's a whisper that's now become a loud roar, or maybe you just don't know what it is. And that's the beauty of being able to uncover and just know that even if you might find yourself in a situation where you're not happy with, in your environment, your circumstances, just know that things are temporary in this moment. And, that is what I was talking about with another girlfriend earlier today, is that sometimes when we have those situations where things are just not going the way we want, we imagine something to be a certain way. It's, you can give yourself that moment to grieve. You can give yourself that time to be upset. But eventually what happens is things start to turn a corner and you start to believe and think, okay, maybe that's the reason why I had that. Maybe that's the reason why I didn't get what I wanted at that moment in time. And so that is the perennial lesson I feel like I'm constantly learning, especially in this period of my life of just, sometimes you want what you want, but sometimes it's not in alignment with what is supposed to happen in this moment. And you have to be okay with that. Right. And so for me, for example, when I have my practice, when I feel like I don't know what to do, I do meditation and I connect with, a different goddess. Right now I'm working with Kali. That's how my spiritual evolution has, manifested itself at this point in time in my life. And I do japa meditation. And it's really about learning, okay, and I request it and I say, help me see what I need to see. Help me see what I am not seeing. I feel really frustrated right now. If there is a block, help me see it, help me move through it. And then I also have a Kriya for that. So for me, it's just really thinking about how do you want to align to a spiritual practice that you have so that you can start to overcome those emotional blocks and keep on going and being consistent and showing up. And knowing that it's okay to give yourself grace if you don't want to show up in that particular day. But anyways, I'm super excited for the women's circle tonight. Would love to have you next month. We have another theme coming up, but every single month inside the membership, we have a women's circle. We have a workshop. We have a private Telegram chat where you can connect with other members inside the community, share your wins, all of that stuff, receive additional audio trainings, receive different types of tools, different meditations, whether it's guided, whether it's a Kundalini yoga Kriya. I always love sharing different types of tools with the community. And then also an EFT, you get an addition, an EFT tapping circle. So we can tap on whatever themes are coming up for us. And I like to anchor it and relate the EFT theme connected to the monthly theme. But would love, love, love to have you in the membership. It's a great opportunity, especially if you're someone who is new to the spiritual path. You want community. You want to understand how to develop your own spiritual practice. You want to understand how to connect to yourself more. You want to learn about different types of feminine archetypes as well to help you really think about where you are in the season of your life. So would really love to have you. I'm going to share that link in the description, and I hope to see you soon. All right. Bye, everybody.